first feature poet today is Jocelyn Heath. I have known Jocelyn for many years now. I don't know how many, but it's been a long time, right? Yeah. Jocelyn is an editor at Smartish Pace. She started out as an intern many years ago and has stuck with us, and I really appreciate that. She's a wonderful reader of poetry and also a poet herself, and her debut collection is the one she'll be reading from today. Jocelyn is Associate Professor in English at Norfolk State University, and her debut collection is in the Cosmic Fugue. It's available for sale over here. I'm sure she'd be happy to sign it for you after the reading. It appeared just last year. Her other writings and poems have appeared in many publications, including The Atlantic, Crab Orchard Review, Poet Lore, Sinister Wisdom, and Fourth River. Please welcome Jocelyn Heath.
Short people problems. Yes, okay. Just adjust this. Okay. Hi everybody, and thanks so much, Stefan, for the invite and for the intro. I was trying to do the math in my head as you were talking, like, was it 2010, 2011? I've stuck around a long time. Stick around a long time, give you a poetry reading. I like it better than a toaster oven, so much appreciated. Seriously, it's a great journal. If you don't already read it, submit it to it, subscribe to it, come hang out. You probably already know this, but it's a really awesome journal, and I'm so glad to still be a part of it. And especially to be here. I live in Norfolk, Virginia, as the intro may have indicated, so I teach English, teach creative writing, love writing, and this is my first book, which I am very fondly calling my little book of gay space poems. So, yeah, give you a little taste of the gay space poems today. The collection's arc is kind of a coming out journey into self-awareness, and for me that just felt like such a new world. That in my mind, cosmic imagery, thinking universally, thinking nature, I also am a big nature nerd, just seemed the way to go in terms of how to shape the arc of the book. So very much inspired by Carl Sagan's Cosmos. That's where the Cosmic Fugue idea comes from. And it's kind of confusion and clarity into peace overall. So I'll try to give you just a little taste of that arc. Watch my time here. Okay. So this is the opening poem. This is called Out of Chaos. Meteors are sugar amid planetary gravel, this asphalt galaxy under bare feet. I walk over in multitudes, curb to curb, infinite what I can be, they say. Infinite the colors on homes cut from one die, a spiral orbit on a cul-de-sac. Infinite parents driving home, calling us in. Lights in evening windows ebb and flow toward this inlet of a cosmic ocean in which we dip bare toes, oblivious to the possible beyond this, our known universe. So, I you realize so many things in retrospect, especially when it comes to somebody who was born in the 80s, dealing with coming out and queer identity. And as I thought about it, the more I thought about it, the younger I could start to sort of see it showing up in myself. So got a poem here about sort of that odd experience of having a queer childhood without actually knowing what on earth is actually going on and why do I think this way. So before I had the language to describe it. This is called Tower. One red bloom with petals of a child's fingertips breadth, suspended by a broken trellis over a concrete square stained with rust, beside the brief slope flecked with mica and dust, bordering a kingdom around a vine-wrapped tower. The blue-ribbed doll blanket laid out on a corner makes a bed. In the beach bucket, we stir a goulash of leaves and dirt. My friend imagines that she is a prince, and we lie down, the double yellow center of the rose above us, and I leaning ever closer. So I mentioned the space nerd part, I think, right? If anyone familiar with the Kepler project, NASA's been working on this for a while. It's project, it's largely mathematical, which is funny because I'm not a math person, but they've been trying to figure out what's out there, what's really, really far out there, and looking for planets far, far beyond anything we've ever dreamed of. And there's a cool animation online somewhere where they've discovered, at least mathematically, all these different galaxies, and you can watch all these rotations of here's the sun, the central star, and then there's the planets rotating around. I said nerd, right? Because nerd. We'll just own that. But that kind of kicked this whole book off, and this is the poem that really kind of started to bring this manuscript from a collection of poems into being. So, yeah, it was written in the Atlanta snowstorm when I was luckily snug in my apartment. So, there you go. This is called Orbital. The world encased in celestial glass, God's mobile on a high shelf whirling, taken down, set in the sky, and buoyed across space-time. Man inside, hand pressed to glass, and in the hand, a microscopic calculus of shells spins a matched rhythm, seeding flesh hedgerows, growing the very gardens of us. Or tiny solar systems refracted infinitely across the body, their galactic turbulence compressed the way Krishna parted sandy lips to show the universe perched on his tongue, half-moon and planets circuiting his palate. Somewhere, satellites spin into the black, snapping neon afterbirth of stars growing fast, as gas giants veer close, then depart on their known orbits, leaving only moons to keep each other company. On a street, people push-pull to destinations, flick open half-spheres of umbrellas, or fall into the metal flow of transit, joining and separating like shared electrons. As on a laptop screen, moons swing around planets made of variables, equations swinging fast or slow, large and small bodies in wide or narrow circles, some close enough to crash, others far off and cold, never to touch, 1,000 tiny gears wound to run the universe. So, I'm a teacher. One of my own writing professors is in the crowd, and some of you all may teach as well, possibly formally, informally, in some capacity. It's funny how we learn with and are inspired by our students in so many ways. I was teaching at Agnes Scott College in Atlanta as an adjunct. I was teaching creative writing, and I discovered the abecedarian form, the alphabet poem, essentially, along with my students. And they were just having so damn much fun with it. I was like, well, okay, I need to try this too, clearly. And I was into self-portraits at the time, and it just all kind of went, combined. So this is self-portrait as a black hole. Astronomers try to explain me, but I'm relative like E=mc squared, seen only by what accretes near me. Dwarfs, neon gases, stellar dust like Einstein's hair veiling his great brain. Far off, compressed into my own gravity, I rotate alone, crushing my heart to densities immeasurable by any calculus. Just walk away when it's too much nodding of space-time to my will, lest you implode from the pressure, molten inside, like me. No one knows what I've taken in. Oxygen the least of it. So many protons, particulates, quarks, quirks, and more in a radius the sharpest radio telescope hardly sees. I won't let it see me. Too many try to get close until they hit dark matter, then vacillate between pleasing us and pleasing the world. I won't be magnified, x-rayed, mapped, known by you or anyone. Zero divides by nothing. Let's lighten things up a little bit here. If you've never read Tracy K. Smith's wonderful, again, space-related book, Life on Mars, it's quite brilliant, won the Pulitzer Prize. This is inspired by her poem, The Universe is a House Party, which is also a phenomenal poem. So, yeah, this is The Galaxy is a Lesbian Dance Night. Woo! Yes. The rooms are collapsing. Dark gravity crushes bodies as exothermic base humidifies air. Every corner crammed. Sparkled halters, trucker hats, and PBR cans constellate the floor. No place like ours. One floor of someone else's club, so many flare up and burn out before hitting our radar. Dead center. Women collide and orbit. Fuchsia light, orange, gold, blue, each beat a shot from Hubble and just as distant to me. I'm the shape of a monster in a starscape of women too dazzling to approach as I am. But I can't evade the singularity's pull. Giving into the frequencies and thrums, my feet and hips lead me toward an event horizon I can't cross. I'm guessing by the open mic folks, rock on, by the way, you're awesome. A lot of writers in here. So you know how we're all like not great judges of our own work, right? Okay, this is a number one case in point of this. This is the last poem I wrote for this manuscript. It's like, I see some gaps. I'll write into the gap. Thought, it's all right. Haven't a bunch of people said this is my favorite poem from the book? Okay. I don't know, but you know what? I'm glad you liked it. Thank you so much. So this is Love Poem in the TGI Fridays. We're back under the pierced glass lamps where I leaned on her arm and looked at her driver's license, not for the picture she showed off to our youth group kids, but to check the year of her birth. Only 4 years older. And suddenly it scared and excited me because suddenly she was real, not some imagined love, and this could, in fact, be. Even now, my feet drum the booth, ready to run from what's too much, from gentle arms that clutch tight enough to smother everything I am. On her couch, we talked until her hand dared to fix my earring, smooth my hair, and the kiss followed. I don't know how to do this. Safe in the din of clinking pints, I watch her watch the game at the bar TV, absorbed as I think I could be, as I think I might let myself be in us. The pitcher winds up, releases the ball he held close, trusting in the path he set it on. I never did learn how to throw. Okay, so it's poetry reading without a little breakup poem, right? Yeah, there we go. There's the spirit. This is hydromancy, which is, if you're not familiar with the term, fortune-telling, divination by way of water. What lovers throw into the water after. House keys, wedding bands that skim, watches dead or dying. My daffodils waltz through foam till drowning. How long until they reach bottom? Where will the current travel? I follow to the top of the falls to hear a hissed answer. But water drives hard into the pool, bearing the stain of river, a copper circlet worn too long. And she's not here to see how green the water is. This trail runs along the sides of mountains, and the river follows, turns a bend, and is gone. We'll skip ahead and do maybe two poems. Dedicating these to my wife, who is at home solo parenting our 4-year-old son on Mother's Day, hours away. I love her very much. She's a hero. She's also an ecologist. So I write nature poetry. She's an ecologist. I basically married my own reference guide. It's so awesome. Highly recommend to all of you. Marry your complimentary partner. She's my first reader and my fact checker, and it's really funny because she starts kind of twitching if something's a little scientifically inaccurate. I'm like, just tell me what it is, babe. I'll write over it. It's fine. So this is for Michelle, and this is called Nomenclature. Empty the sky above, where in daylight a hawk rode the breeze, so high you could barely name it. Red-shouldered, you said. It mattered to you to call it what it was. Your nomenclature simplified for me, like the Christmas fern, Polystichum acrosticoides, and the English ivy, Hedera helix, that grows to cover any unfilled space. And now we hike the double forest, trunks dark and shadow dark, to the pond where we didn't dare swim in daylight, stripped and shivering, entering by inches. Black and silver night, where moonlight skims across the pond to touch your pale hips, where our breasts, half moons at the waterline, float among waterlogged stars. She also worked for a time in the DC Department of the Environment, because we're from this area, in Anacostia Park. So did things like population counts and population management. So this is a letter from Anacostia Park. At lunchtime, I watched milk jugs bask with turtles and mud. The cattails you love spit fuzzy phlegm into the river, each piece thickening with diesel and sinking fast. I walked to the trestle, tossed flags into nests as reminders to oil the eggs next week, On the calendar, population control. Not stealing the eggs, they'll just lay more, but a gentle touch of oil to seal the shell and fossilize the gosling in its yolk. I think of honking rage and feathers, how the mother hisses and dodges blows from our oars, her ire at the boat misplaced. When we put the eggs back, glistening in the nest, she'll still incubate, unaware of the addled shell pores, stifling her unborn's breaths. Or perhaps she waits for the possibility of the tiniest spot missed. I want just once to watch this vigil, her worming and prodding, the moon and sun cycling across the black eye. How many times until she knows? I want to see her take the final flight, feathers dripping into the water as she goes. Go back to space momentarily here. Kepler project, which I mentioned, Kepler 452b. I had a conversation earlier today about this. It's an odd designation, odd name for a poem, letter to Kepler 452b. But that is the planet that's been found, exoplanet that's been found that is closest to Earth, size, and sort of environment, distance from star, the place where we might live one day. So obviously there had to be a poem in there somewhere, right? Of course. So this is letter to Kepler 452b. I knew you were out there, even when the math said divide by 10 to the 99th and have it again and again. There's your odds. Even when they said there's no perfect match, that you were a trick of physics and telescopes, I sought your sun in distant skies, knew that there was more than one of us out there. There will be time to map your terrain, your depths, brush back the clouds to learn what inhabits you. But your brightness across galaxies, a promise written in variables, that's all I need to know you're out there and you're perfect. We'll close with the last poem of the book. Anyone ever been to Kansas City? Either side. You're from there? No kidding, okay. So you probably will recognize me talking about the fountains on the plaza then. So, yeah. My wife is from Kansas City as well. This is a little poem I wrote for her also, in a way, called Plaza in Late Spring. The warthog's scalding nose paints my skin, and the fountains bubble warm in this heat wave as your hometown's sun sears our arms. Gold, this dome rising amid hot ochre roofs, ghosts of prairie grass pinned under the asphalt. Falls Basilica in the shopping district, where you point out the vine-leafed cornets below the gutters, the fan lattice balconies on storefronts, the blue and yellow tiles tessellating throughout the streets. You shrug as I point out the wrought iron XXI, 21 forever, and the incidental neon. By the Nichols Fountain, a woman paints the stretch of skyline without streetlights or high-rises, just spire and tile and stone. Time and slow brush strokes unwind contradictions that fit. Entwine contradictions that fit. Feet in the water, we talk about Christmas time, when a different color frames each building and snow thickens on the stucco. We'll be back, together, you promise, and we walk on as silent belfries gape at the passing cars. Thank you all for listening.